What if I told you that the most powerful people in the world are not the loudest, the strongest, or the ones who always fight back, but the ones who remain calm when everyone else loses control? Think about that. Real strength is in T in the reaction, it S in the restraint. The person who can stand still in chaos, who can feel anger rise and still choose silence, who can face provocation and not fall, that S real power. We live in a world that constantly tests our emotions. One careless comment, one disrespectful tone, one moment of pressure, and suddenly we at war with our own peace. We speak words we don't mean, take actions we later regret, and wonder why calm feels so far away. But what if peace was never lost? What if it's only hidden beneath the noise we react to? This is the truth. Your reactions build or break your life. Every emotional outburst takes energy, drains focus, and feeds chaos. But when you stop reacting, you start rising. You stop being controlled by what happens around you and start mastering what happens within you. That's where your real power begins. If you stay with me until the end of this video, you will discover 12 life-changing habits that will help you master your emotions, habits that will train your mind to stay calm under pressure, to respond with clarity instead of impulse, and to carry an unshakable sense of peace no matter what life throws at you. Because here's the secret no one teaches you. Emotional control is not about suppression, it's about transformation. It's not about pretending you don't care, it's about learning to care without losing yourself. When you stop reacting to everything, you start seeing things as they are, not as your emotions distort them to be. The world will always test your patience. People will misunderstand you, provoke you, and disappoint you. But your reaction determines your reality. When someone tries to pull you into their storm, you have two choices: to fight the chaos or to become the calm. Those who choose calm are the ones who win silently. Look around, the most respected people aren't those who shout the loudest. They are the ones who stay grounded. They carry an aura of peace that can be shaken. You feel it when they walk into a room. That calm isn't luck or personality, it's a skill. A skill built through self-awareness, discipline, and emotional intelligence. Imagine if nothing outside of you could disturb your inner peace. Imagine being able to stay centered no matter what others say or do. Imagine having the strength to walk away from arguments that lead nowhere, to stay kind even when others aren't, to keep your focus when everything around you demands a reaction. That is emotional mastery, and it is available to anyone who decides to learn it. Psychology tells us that most reactions come from the subconscious mind, from past pain, fear, or ego. When we react, it's often not to what's happening now, but to what we've experienced before. We reliving old wounds through new moments. But when you become aware of this, you can pause, you can breathe, you can choose not to let the past control your present. This is the beginning of true freedom. Because the moment you choose not to react, you take your power back. You stop being a puppet of circumstance and become the author of your response. You rise above the emotion and step into awareness. You start controlling the only thing you've ever truly had control over: yourself. And that is the foundation of emotional mastery: stillness. Not weakness, not avoidance, but intentional stillness. The kind of stillness that lets you feel everything, yet remain unshaken. It's the kind that makes people wonder how you can stay so calm when the world is falling apart. The kind that builds respect, peace, and power silently. So if you've ever wondered how to control your emotions, how to stop reacting, how to stay calm when everything around you demands chaos, this is where your transformation begins. Because once you understand the power of not reacting, you will never want to live any other way again. The reward for mastering your emotions is not just peace, it's power, clarity, and freedom. By the end of this lesson, you will walk away with habits that will help you navigate life with calm strength and quiet confidence. Because when you master your emotions, you master your life. Why do we react so quickly when something touches our emotions? Why do we feel that sudden wave of anger, fear, or sadness before we even have time to think? The answer lies deep within our psychology. Our reactions are not random, they are the echoes of our conditioning, built through years of experience, pain, and survival. From childhood, we learn that reacting helps us feel in control. When someone takes something from us, we fight back. When we blamed unfairly, we defend ourselves. That's how we protect our sense of worth. But as we grow older, this same instinct becomes our biggest obstacle. Because life doesn't just test our strength, it tests our control. And the mind that cannot control itself becomes a battlefield. When something triggers you, Your brain isn't thinking logically. It's reacting from memory. A harsh word reminds you of being disrespected before. A rejection stirs an old fear of not being enough. A loss awakens past pain. The body remembers every emotional wound, and the moment something touches that memory, the mind goes into defense mode. It's not the present moment you reacting to it as your past trying to protect itself again. That's why awareness is so important. The person who can observe their emotions instead of becoming them holds a quiet kind of power. Most people don't pause long enough to notice what's really happening. They feel anger and immediately speak. They feel hurt and immediately attack. But if you can pause and ask yourself, what am I really feeling right now? You start to break the pattern. You stop being controlled by emotion and you start understanding it. The truth is, emotions are not your enemies. They are messengers. Anger tells you there as injustice. Sadness tells you something needs to be released. Fear tells you to be cautious. But the problem begins when we let those emotions dictate our actions without wisdom. Reacting blindly means we let temporary feelings create permanent damage. Responding calmly means we use emotions as guidance, not as weapons. Here's what most people never realize. Every reaction comes from one of two places: the need to protect the ego or the desire to stay peaceful. The ego wants to prove, to win, to defend. It wants to be right more than it wants to be wise. But peace wants understanding. Peace doesn't need to be right, it only needs to be free. That's why the most powerful people choose silence over argument. They understand that peace is a greater victory than proving a point. Every time you react impulsively, your emotions control your direction. But every time you pause, reflect, and choose calmness, you reclaim that power. This is not weakness, it's mastery over self. The one who can stay calm in conflict is not fragile, they are untouchable, because the calm mind sees what the angry mind cannot. Think of emotions like waves in the ocean. They rise, they crash, and then they settle. But if you dive too deep into them, you drown. If you stay still and let them pass, the water clears again. The same happens within you. The more you chase every feeling, the more lost you become. But the moment you allow emotions to move through you without reaction, peace returns. You must remember, emotional control doesn't mean indifference. It means responding with clarity instead of chaos. It means knowing that your reaction can either heal or harm, build or break, empower or exhaust. And once you realize that, you start protecting your energy more carefully. You stop giving your emotions away to people who don't deserve them. Let's be honest, there will always be people who try to provoke you, challenge you, or misunderstand you. Not because you've done something wrong, but because your calmness exposes their chaos. When you no longer react, you become a mirror to others. You show them their own lack of control. That's why emotional strength often feels lonely, because most people haven't reached it yet. But stay consistent. Over time, your silence will become your message. Your mind is not your master. It's your tool. When you learn to control it, your emotions start to serve you instead of sabotage you. The next time you feel triggered, take a moment. Breathe deeply. Remind yourself, this feeling is temporary. I don't need to act on it. The more you practice this, the faster your brain rewires itself. Science proves that calm reflection activates the rational part of your brain, while anger activates the primal. So when you stay calm, you are not just being patient, you are being intelligent. This is the real meaning of emotional maturity, not to never feel anger, sadness, or fear, but to master how you handle them. To know that emotions are natural, but reactions are optional. When you reach that point, life becomes lighter. You stop taking everything personally. You stop letting small things steal your peace. You understand that control isn't about dominating others, it's about mastering yourself. And that's where true confidence comes from. The person who can remain calm when others lose control holds the real advantage. Because when emotions rise, clarity disappears. But when the mind stays clear, every decision becomes sharper. That is the power of not reacting. It gives you control over how your story unfolds. So, as you continue this journey, remember this: every reaction is a choice. Every moment of anger, every burst of emotion, every word spoken in haste, they all begin as a single thought. And in that thought lies your freedom. You can feed the fire or you can breathe peace. The choice is always yours. Now that you understand why we react, it's time to learn how to take back control. Emotional mastery is in T, built through force at S, built through practice. It's not about becoming cold or unfeeling, but about building enough inner space between what happens and how you respond. That space is your power. And there are habits that can help you create it, habits that slowly rewire your mind to choose peace over impulse. The first and most powerful habit is awareness. Everything begins with noticing. You can to change what you dawn to see. Most people move through life on emotional autopilot, reacting, regretting, and repeating the same cycle. Awareness breaks that loop. It means you start observing your emotions without immediately judging or acting on them. When something upsets you, instead of saying, "I am angry," you say, "Anger is rising in me." That small change in language shifts your position from being inside the emotion to watching it from the outside. You move from being the storm to being the sky that holds it. Awareness teaches you that emotions are not commands, they are signals. Anger doesn't mean attack. Sadness doesn't mean give up. Fear doesn't mean run. These emotions are simply messages asking for understanding. The more aware you become, the more you realize that most emotions pass quickly if you don't feed them. When you practice awareness daily in conversations, during stress, even in silence, you will start to see how your emotions rise and fall like waves, and how easily you can remain steady beneath them. The second habit is pause, the quiet art of waiting before you speak, act, or decide. The pause is not weakness, it's wisdom. The human mind is wired to react instantly to threats, but not every situation is a threat. When you pause, you interrupt that old pattern. You give your rational mind time to return. Just a few seconds of pause can save you from hours of regret. Before you respond to criticism, pause. Before you reply to anger, pause. Before you judge yourself or someone else, pause. That small moment creates space for clarity to enter. The pause also allows you to ask powerful questions. What am I feeling right now? Why does this trigger me? What outcome do I truly want? These questions shift your focus from reaction to reflection. You stop fighting the emotion and start understanding it. This is how emotional control grows, one conscious pause at a time. The more you practice it, the more natural it becomes. Eventually, your first instinct, one to be to react, it will be to breathe and think. And that leads us to the third habit, breath. The breath is the bridge between the body and the mind. When emotions rise, your breathing changes. It becomes shallow and fast, feeding anxiety and tension. But when you slow it down, you calm both the body and the storm inside the mind. Taking deep, intentional breaths is one of the simplest yet most powerful ways to regain control in any moment. When you feel anger, frustration, or anxiety building, stop and breathe deeply in through the nose, out through the mouth. As you breathe, imagine exhaling the emotion, releasing the heat, letting it fade. This isn't just a mental trick, it tests science. Deep breathing lowers cortisol levels, slows the heart rate, and signals safety to your nervous system. It tells your body, I am not in danger, I am in control. The beautiful thing about these three habits, awareness, pause, and breath, is that they build upon each other. Awareness helps you notice the emotion rising. The pause gives you time to step back from it. The breath gives you calm to respond wisely. Together, they create a shield around your peace. Start small. You don't need to master these overnight. Begin by noticing one emotion a day. Maybe it's frustration during traffic or irritation in a conversation. When it comes, pause. Take 3 slow breaths. Feel the difference. You will realize that most emotional storms only last if you feed them. When you don't react, they fade much faster than you expect. Over time, this becomes your new normal. You start to see that peace isn't found in perfect conditions, it's created by your response. Even when chaos surrounds you, you can remain centered because you've trained your mind to respond from awareness, not impulse. And something amazing happens when you do this consistently. People start to notice your calmness. They'll wonder how you remain composed when others lose control. But they want to see the hours of inner work, the quiet moments of breathing through discomfort, the patience it took to build that strength. That's the beauty of emotional mastery. It's a silent, invisible, but deeply powerful. These 3 habits are the foundation of emotional control. They help you reclaim that moment between what happens and what you do. They help you stop reacting from pain and start responding from power. Awareness shows you the emotion. The pause gives you choice. The breath gives you peace. Every time you practice these habits, you grow a little stronger. You'll start realizing you don't have to control every situation, you only have to control yourself. And when you do that, everything else begins to fall into place, because the world outside you can only shake you if the world inside you is unsettled. So, remember this. The first battle of emotional mastery is not fought with others, it's fought within you. Every time you notice your emotions, every time you pause instead of reacting, every time you choose to breathe instead of break, you are teaching your mind that peace is your power. And soon, that power becomes your natural way of living. Once you've learned to stay aware, to pause, and to breathe through the storm, the next step is learning how to detach. Detachment doesn't mean you stop caring, it means you stop clinging. It's about realizing that not everything deserves your reaction, your time, or your emotional energy. The world will constantly throw situations, people, and opinions at you, but peace begins when you stop trying to control what's outside and start mastering what's within. The fourth habit is detachment, the quiet power of letting things be. Most people live trapped by emotional attachment, attached to being understood, to being liked, to always being right. And when those attachments are challenged, pain appears. But here's the truth. The more you attach your peace to things outside your control, the more fragile your peace becomes. Detachment is freedom. It's understanding that someone else's anger doesn't have to become your anger, that someone else's mood doesn't have to dictate your day. When you detach, you start observing instead of absorbing. You stop taking everything personally. You realize that most people's behavior has nothing to do with you, it's a reflection of their own state of mind. Detachment allows you to stand in the middle of chaos without letting it enter you. You still feel, but you no longer drown. You still care, but you no longer cling. That's real power, to stay soft in heart, yet firm in peace. The fifth habit is perspective. Perspective is what turns emotional storms into passing clouds. When you re-trapped in emotion, everything feels urgent, final, and huge. But perspective reminds you that not everything that happens deserves your full emotional investment. Ask yourself, will this matter in a week, a month, a year? Most of the time it won't. The mind exaggerates pain in the moment, but perspective brings proportion back to your thoughts. Perspective also reminds you that every experience, even the painful ones, carries a lesson. That setback you were facing today might be shaping your strength for tomorrow. That rejection you were holding on to might be redirecting you to something better. When you train your mind to look beyond the present emotion, you begin to see that life's challenges are not happening to you, they re-happening for you. Every situation is either a blessing or a lesson, and both are valuable. Holding perspective doesn't mean denying how you feel, it means expanding how you see. It helps you rise above the emotion instead of sinking into it. You start realizing that life isn't just about what happens, it's about what you make it mean. Two people can go through the same storm, one breaks, the other grows. The difference is perspective. When you learn to zoom out, the storm shrinks and wisdom appears. The sixth habit is positive self-talk, the language you use inside your own mind. The words you say to yourself shape your emotional reality more than any external event. When something goes wrong, your mind begins to narrate the moment. I failed. I can handle this. I am not good enough. Those thoughts aren't facts, they re-habits, and habits can be changed. Positive self-talk is not about blind optimism. It's about truth spoken with compassion. It's reminding yourself, I can handle this calmly. This moment will pass. I am learning to control my emotions. These words reprogram your subconscious mind, helping it respond with balance instead of panic. The way you talk to yourself determines how you feel about yourself. And when your inner voice becomes your ally, emotional control becomes natural. Every time you catch your mind spiraling into negativity, pause and reframe it. If you think, this person disrespected me, replace it with, this is a chance to practice composure. If you think, I can't take this anymore, replace it with, I've handled worse before, I'm stronger than I feel right now. This shift doesn't erase emotion, but it redirects it towards strength. Over time, your inner voice becomes calm, encouraging, and steady, and that steadiness shows up in everything you do. These three habits, detachment, perspective, and positive self-talk, create emotional distance between stimulus and reaction. They help you see life with clarity instead of chaos. Detachment removes unnecessary emotional weight. Perspective gives meaning to challenges. Positive self-talk builds inner safety. Together, they make you emotionally untouchable. When you combine these with awareness, pause, and breath, you start to build a kind of unshakable calm. You stop chasing control outside and begin to cultivate it within. You realize that you can stop waves from forming, but you can learn to surf them with grace. You don't need everyone to understand you, because you understand yourself. You don't need to win every argument, because you've already won peace. Remember, emotional mastery isn't about never feeling pain, it's about not letting pain decide your actions. It's the art of staying kind when others are cruel, staying calm when others are loud, and staying centered when life gets messy. The more you practice these habits, the more you start to live above reaction, in a place of quiet power. So, the next time you feel triggered or hurt, take a step back, breathe, detach, ask yourself what truly matters, speak kindly to yourself, because peace isn't found in perfection, it's found in perspective. And the moment you choose not to react, you don't lose control, you gain it. Once you learn to detach from what doesn't deserve your reaction, to see life through a wider lens, and to speak kindly to yourself, you begin to notice something remarkable. Peace feels lighter, easier, and more natural. But emotional mastery doesn't end there. It deepens through patience, silence, and boundaries, 3 habits that act like guards at the door of your mind, protecting your peace from the chaos of the world. The 7th habit is patience. In a world that glorifies speed, patience has become rare, yet it's one of the highest forms of strength. When emotions rise, the impatient mind wants instant relief, to shout, to argue, to fix. But patience reminds you that not everything needs an immediate response. Time has a way of revealing truth, and silence has a way of resolving what anger never can. Patience is the art of allowing things to unfold without losing your peace in the process. It's as knowing that you can control how others behave, but you can control how long you let it disturb you. The impatient mind reacts, the patient heart understands. When you cultivate patience, you stop rushing to change every uncomfortable feeling. You learn that sometimes the best response is simply waiting, not out of weakness, but out of wisdom. Because what time can heal, reaction can destroy. Practicing patience doesn't mean you ignore your emotions. It means you give them time to settle before deciding what to do. A patient person still feels anger, still feels hurt, but doesn't let those emotions choose their words or actions. They understand that emotional storms always pass, and clarity always returns. Every time you choose patience over reaction, you strengthen the muscle of emotional control. You prove to yourself that peace is possible, even when the world tests you. The 8th habit is silence, a weapon few people truly understand. Silence is not emptiness, it's energy under control. When you stay silent instead of reacting, you shift the balance of power. You stop feeding chaos with attention. You stop giving anger the response it needs to grow. Silence speaks louder than any argument because it carries something rare: discipline. There's deep intelligence in staying quiet when others expect a reaction. It's a statement that says, "My peace is more valuable than your noise." Silence protects your dignity, your energy, and your clarity. It allows you to listen more, to observe more, and to act from understanding rather than emotion. Most conflicts in life don't need to be won, they need to be walked away from. And silence is how you walk away with grace. However, silence doesn't mean you suppress your voice forever. It means you learn when to speak. Words carry weight, and timing decides their impact. When you speak from emotion, words cut. When you speak from calm, words heal. The more you practice silence, the more powerful your voice becomes when you finally use it. Because people learn to listen to those who not speak often, but always speak with purpose. The 9th habit is boundaries, the invisible lines that protect your emotional space. Boundaries are not walls, they are doors that you control. They tell the world where respect begins and where intrusion ends. Without boundaries, anyone can drain your energy, disturb your peace, or manipulate your emotions. Setting boundaries is not selfish, it is a form of self-respect. It's saying, I choose who has access to my mind and my emotions. Emotional control becomes nearly impossible without boundaries. You cannot remain calm around constant negativity if you keep allowing it into your space. You cannot stay patient with people who repeatedly cross your limits. Boundaries teach others how to treat you, but more importantly, they teach you how to value yourself. When you start saying no to chaos, you start saying yes to peace. Setting boundaries doesn't always mean confrontation. Sometimes it's quiet distance. Sometimes it's as choosing not to engage in every argument or conversation. Sometimes it's stepping away from people who constantly drain you. You don't need to announce your boundaries, you just need to live them. Over time, your calmness will communicate what words never could. When patience, silence, and boundaries work together, they transform you. Patience gives you time to think. Silence gives you power to observe. Boundaries give you protection to maintain peace. These three habits build an invisible shield around your emotions, helping you stay centered no matter what happens. You will notice that people who once triggered you no longer have the same power. Situations that used to frustrate you will now teach you, because emotional control doesn't come from resisting life. It comes from understanding it. It comes from knowing that your peace is not dependent on others' behavior, but on your discipline. This is where real emotional maturity shines. You stop fighting every battle, you stop defending your ego, and you stop reacting to every noise. You realize that peace is not found in isolation, it's found in intelligent living. Patience teaches you timing. Silence teaches you wisdom. Boundaries teach you self-worth. When you begin to live this way, something profound happens. The world slows down. You start feeling less chaos inside. You make decisions with clarity instead of emotion. You begin to trust yourself more because you know you can handle whatever comes your way without losing control. So, the next time life tests your peace, remember, not every situation needs a reaction. Not every word needs a reply. And not every person deserves a place in your emotional world. Practice patience. Guard your silence. Calm confidence. But emotional mastery is a lifelong process. It doesn't stop at defense. Once you learn how to protect your peace, the next step is to nurture it. That's where reflection, gratitude, and letting go come in three habits that not only keep you grounded, but elevate your inner strength to its highest form. The 10th habit is reflection. Reflection is how awareness matures into wisdom. It's the habit of looking back not to judge yourself, but to understand yourself. Every emotional reaction, every mistake, every conflict you've faced carries a hidden lesson. But most people move too fast to notice it. They react, regret, and then rush into the next moment without ever asking, what did this teach me about myself? When you practice reflection, you turn experience into education. You begin to see patterns, how certain people, situations, or thoughts trigger you repeatedly. You start recognizing that your reactions are not random, they are messages. Maybe your anger comes from unmet expectations. Maybe your sadness comes from feeling unseen. Reflection helps you decode those emotional signals so you can grow beyond them. Make reflection a daily ritual. At the end of the day, sit in silence and replay the moments that stirred emotion. Ask yourself, where did I lose my peace? Why did it happen? How could I respond differently next time? These quiet questions become your mirror. Over time, you'll notice yourself reacting less and responding more. Because reflection doesn't erase your emotions, it teaches you how to guide them. The 11th habit is gratitude. Gratitude is one of the most powerful emotional regulators. When you re-thankful, it's nearly impossible to be bitter, angry, or reactive. Gratitude doesn't change your circumstances, it changes your perspective of them. It shifts your focus from what is missing to what's already here. And in that shift, peace grows. Every time you choose gratitude, you interrupt negativity. You remind your mind that even though things aren't perfect, there's still something good in the moment. Maybe it's the breath in your lungs, the lessons you've learned, or the strength that pain gave you. Gratitude grounds you in the present, which is the only place peace exists. The more you practice it, the more emotionally balanced you become. Start small. Each morning or night, think of 3 things you are thankful for. Not grand achievements, but simple, meaningful things. The warmth of sunlight, a kind word, your ability to keep going even when it's hard. Gratitude doesn't just soothe emotions, it rewires the brain for resilience. It teaches you to find light even in darkness, to stay steady when life feels uncertain. When your heart is grateful, your reactions lose their urgency because your focus shifts from lack to abundance. The 12th habit is letting go, perhaps the hardest but most freeing of all. Letting go means releasing the need to control how others see you, how things should have been, or what you can to change. Holding on to anger, guilt, or disappointment only keeps you stuck in emotional loops. The more you hold on, the heavier you become. Letting go doesn't mean forgetting, it means freeing yourself from what no longer serves your growth. Most people believe that holding on shows strength, but real strength is in release. It takes courage to say, "This no longer deserves my energy." When you let go, you make room for peace to return. You stop trying to rewrite the past and start focusing on what you can create now. Letting go also means forgiving, not to excuse others, but to free yourself. Forgiveness is not about saying what happened was right. It's about refusing to let it poison your heart any longer. You forgive so that you can move forward without carrying the weight of resentment. The moment you release what's been holding you back, you create space for calmness, clarity, and healing. Reflection, gratitude, and letting go are the final pieces of emotional mastery because they teach you how to transform your inner world, not just manage it. Reflection gives you understanding. Gratitude gives you contentment. Letting go gives you freedom. Together, they create emotional harmony, a state where peace becomes your default, not your effort. When you live with these habits, life begins to feel different. You will still face challenges, but they won't control you. You will still feel pain, but you will move through it with wisdom instead of resistance. You will realize that true emotional strength isn't about never breaking it, it's about knowing how to rebuild yourself every time you do. Think of your emotions like water. Reflection clears it. Gratitude warms it. Letting go allows it to flow. When you combine all three, your inner world becomes calm and clear, capable of reflecting life without distortion. And perhaps the most beautiful part of these habits is that they connect you back to yourself. You stop living as a reaction to the world and start living as a response to your own peace. You realize that every moment offers a choice: to hold on or to release, to complain or to be thankful, to repeat the past or to rise above it. Choose release, choose gratitude, choose reflection, because those choices build a strength that no chaos can break. When you master them, you no longer chase peace, you become it. When you've practiced reflection, gratitude, and letting go long enough, something powerful begins to happen. Your relationship with your emotions transforms. You stop living as a slave to impulses and start moving through life with clarity. This is the shift from reaction to response, a transformation that changes not only how you deal with others, but how you deal with yourself. Reaction is the voice of survival. It's instant, emotional, and often defensive. It speaks before it understands. Response, however, is the voice of wisdom. It takes a moment to breathe, to think, and then to choose from a place of calm awareness. This shift might sound subtle, but it's one of the most life-changing skills a person can ever develop. When you live in reaction, life controls you. A single comment can ruin your day. One disappointment can destroy your focus. You hand over your peace to the smallest external disturbance. But when you live in response, you control life. You don't need the world to behave perfectly for you to feel grounded. You become the steady one, the eye of the storm that remains unmoved even when everything around you spins. This transformation begins in the smallest moments, when you choose silence over argument, patience over frustration, understanding over pride. Each time you make that choice, you build emotional muscle. You rewire your brain to seek peace instead of chaos. It's not about becoming emotionless. It's about mastering how those emotions express themselves. You can feel deeply and still stay calm. You can care deeply and still stay centered. Psychologically, this is the moment where emotional maturity takes root. You stop identifying with every passing emotion. You realize that feelings are temporary visitors, not permanent truths. Anger, sadness, irritation, they come and go. But beneath them all, there is something constant, something stable: your awareness, your inner strength, your peace. The more you recognize this, the less power external situations have over you. And something else changes too: the quality of your decisions. Reaction leads to regret, but response leads to results. When your mind is calm, your choices become clear. You stop speaking words you later wish to take back. You stop rushing into actions that cost you your peace. You start moving intentionally, not impulsively. And with that calm, your confidence grows. You begin to trust yourself again because you know you can handle life without losing yourself in it. Those who master this transformation don't just control their emotions, they inspire others. People begin to notice the calm in your presence, the steadiness in your words, the grace in your actions. They feel safe around you because calmness is contagious. Emotional control radiates power, not the kind that dominates others, but the kind that uplifts and stabilizes everything around it. And the beauty is, this power doesn't make you distant. It makes you deeper. When you stop reacting, you start listening more, feeling more, understanding more. You realize that silence often reveals more truth than argument ever could. You discover that peace is not found in changing others, it's found in mastering yourself. When you reach this point, you no longer chase peace, you create it. You no longer seek respect, you embody it. You no longer fear losing control because you've learned that true control begins within. That is the essence of emotional mastery, responding from wisdom, not reacting from impulse. And once you live from that space, life starts to flow differently. The noise of the world doesn't shake you as easily.